Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to our fifth and final Platinum Partner demonstration during Public Sector Catering Plant Based Week. Today we are with our friends at Knorr Professional, who will be demonstrating some of their products to everybody. We're going to have a short introduction by David before he'll pass over to Andrew Taylor, who's Brand Marketing Manager at Knorr Professional, and then demonstrating for you today is Alex Hall, Executive Development Chef at Unilever Food Solutions, who is in the kitchen with his colleague, Paul. Just waiting for people to log on. We'll give it another sort of 15, 20 seconds, and then we will go fully live. Okay, people are still sort of drifting in, and as they tend to do for the next 5-10 minutes anyway. So I will now pass over to David Fode, Group Editor at Public Sector Catering. Over to you, David.
Thank you, Andrew. Good afternoon. I'm David Fode, Editor of Public Sector Catering magazine, and welcome along to the finale of the series of cooking demos that we've been hosting all this week as part of Plant-Based Week. Today we're moving a little bit away from meat replacement and putting the focus firmly on flavour, and no matter what ingredients you're using. And to help us learn a little bit more about taste trends and how you can capture them in your kitchen, we're going to tap into the expertise of Knorr Professional, our Plant-Based Week Platinum sponsor. And I'm very pleased to introduce to you three of their experts. Joining us is Brand Marketing Manager Andrew Taylor. Good afternoon, Andrew.
Good afternoon, David.
Happy you could join us today. And live in the Unilever Development Kitchen in Leatherhead, we're joined by Executive Development Chef Alex Hall and his friend and colleague, Business Development Chef Paul Hawkins. Alex and Paul, hello.
Good afternoon. Hi, David.
Okay. Right, Andrew, maybe it's over to you now, just to sort of give us a little bit of a briefing about Knorr Professional, the products you've got, and just set us up to tell us about what Alex and Paul are going to be showing us in the kitchen.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much, David. So I'm just going to share my screen. Bear with me 1 second. Okay. So, as David said, we are Knorr Professional, and we're here to talk to you about some of our products and some of the reasons why Knorr Professional has partnered with Public Sector Catering magazine ahead of Plant-Based Week. So, before Alex and Paul take you through the culinary demo using some of the Knorr Professional products, I just wanted to talk to you a little bit about why we at Knorr Professional have partnered with Public Sector Catering magazine and how this aligns with our brand purpose. So, there are some truths about the way we eat and we cook that we feel need to be addressed. So, there's estimated to be around 5,000 edible crops on this earth. However, the shocking truth is that 75% of what we eat globally relies on just 12 crops and 5 animal species. Three of the 12 crops are rice, maize, and wheat, which make up around 60% of the calories from plants in human diets today. Let's take a look at rice alone. There are 16,000 varieties of rice, yet globally we grow just 37 of those varieties. This ultimately creates a fragile food system and just doesn't provide the variety and the nutrients we need in our diets. This situation limits our access to nutrients and to the diversity of flavour that nature offers. Put simply, if we don't make a change now, research has shown that there are approximately 60 harvests left. That is an absolute shocking truth. So at Knorr Professional, we are so passionate about changing these shocking truths. It is our purpose to reinvent food for humanity, championing better ways to cook for a more sustainable future. We believe we have two major problems to tackle. Number one, we eat way too much of the same product. The average British family eats the same 6 meals every week. 6 in 10 people eat the same food every day, and 1 in 3 said that they were stuck in a rut when it came to their diet. Over half the nation are taking supplements to up their dose of vitamins and minerals, which naturally should come from a varied and balanced diet. Secondly, our food is too resource intensive. It is putting additional strain on our environment, and current agricultural practices are not sustainable in the long term. Animal farming alone accounts for approximately 60% of total agriculture greenhouse gas emissions. Meat, dairy, and egg production is more water, land, and greenhouse gas intensive than plant production, and it also contributes to pollution through liquid waste discharging into our rivers. So what are we doing about it? Well, we at Knorr Professional would like to introduce you to the Future 50 Foods project. The Future 50 Foods initiative aims to tackle these issues. More plants mean more nutrients for the soil, and healthier, more diverse diets for the population. But what is the Future 50 report? The Future 50 report is a set of 50 global ingredients that should be cooked more often and for a more sustainable food future. The report has been developed by Knorr Professional in conjunction with our external partners, including the WWF, Oxfam, and CCF, and made public through this report. So let's look at a little bit more about the report itself. I've got a very quick video just to introduce a little bit more about Future 50 Foods.
So the Future 50 Foods report provides a tangible solution to help people decrease the environmental impact of the foods they're eating while increasing the nutritional value of their foods. The ambition is to help people make 3 shifts in the way that they eat and the foods that are grown. First, more vegetables. 2, more plant-based sources of protein in place of animal sources. And 3, more variety, specifically in the types of grains that we're eating. What makes it so unique is that this is really about what we can eat more of, loaded with lots of colors and flavors and foods from all over the world. So it's really to inspire people to look outside of the foods that they usually eat and into other places for different types of foods that they can add to their dishes every day.
So in this report, you'll see ingredients from legumes, beans, grains, vegetables, nuts and seeds, and some more uncommon ingredients and unique foods too. Each ingredient in the Future 50 report has a nutritional and/or environmental benefit, so you can see the advantage of using this versus your common ingredients. At Knorr Professional, UK and Ireland, we've picked 23 ingredients from this report to focus on, as we know that all chefs can introduce these into their cooking and onto their menus by simple swaps or for something they are already cooking. These include soybeans, lentils, sweet potato, kale, red cabbage, spinach, wild rice, and even quinoa. So why not try some of these ingredients on your menu today? Here are some of the really interesting key stats about some of the ingredients on the Future 50 report. Raw soybeans, for example, contain 38 grams of protein per 100 grams. That's similar to pork and 3 times more than egg. In fact, soy delivers more protein per hectare than any other crop. Take tender stem broccoli. It's easy to grow and it can be harvested within just 7 to 8 weeks of planting. Lentils. They require little water to grow, and they've got a carbon footprint that is 43 times lower than that of beef. Or even quinoa. It's a hardy plant that can tolerate frosts, droughts, high winds, and requires little fertilization. So as a public sector caterer, how can you add a Future 50 ingredient to your menu? We believe there's 3 key ways of doing that. First of all, there's additions. Why not look at something like mixing wild rice with basmati to create a more sustainable dish that is higher in protein, zinc, and iron? Alternatively, you can add spinach to a dish for enhanced flavor and greater nutrition. Secondly, there's swaps. Why not look at swapping mince, beef mince for lentils, or white potatoes for sweet potatoes? Sweet potatoes are higher in fiber, and a valuable source of essential vitamins. Alternatively, there's red cabbage. Why not swap it for green cabbage? Again, another variety of foods that we can add to our diets. And thirdly, there's new uses. How about something like beetroot greens, the tops of the beetroot plant? This is the most nutritious part of the plant. It's rich in vitamin A and vitamin K and has a subtle taste similar of that to chard. Or how about parsley root, an ingredient rarely used in the UK, but it has a flavour profile somewhere between celeriac, carrot and parsley. It's simply delicious, grated into a salad or pureed with cream for a real added depth of flavour. So hopefully that gives you a really good introduction to the Future 50 report. I'm now going to hand over to Alex and Paul in the kitchen, who will talk you through some of our products and look at how you can incorporate them onto your menu. Over to you guys.
Thanks, Andrew. Brilliant presentation. Paul, do you want to say hello?
Hello everyone, I'm Paul Hawkins, part of the culinary team here at Unilever, and today we are going to do a couple of great dishes using some of the ingredients that Andrew has talked about, and keep them plant-based and really show you how easy they are to incorporate into your dishes. So Alex, what dish are you going to do?
So today I'm going to start with finishing part of my dish, but I'm going to make a meatball or burger, or I don't know, we can keep playing with it, made out of black beans and quinoa. But before I do that, I've made some up in advance. I'm just going to top it with this tomato and basil sauce and then put it into the oven so they can start to heat up again. But these are meatballs. So the idea being that we're going to have some takeaway dishes that are going to be able to serve in any sector. So I'm going to show you how to make the dish as Paul puts those in the oven just to start heating them up. And the base of this mix is all about those Future 50 ingredients. So hopefully Andrew's already given you some tips and some stats about why we're using them. But equally, it's super important that we think about the flavours that we're trying to develop and making sure that we're using the right products to enhance them. Because as chefs, we've got the responsibility to help educate people on these ingredients and really bring them to life so that the public can start using them more and more frequently. So I'm just going to cook the base of my quinoa in a little bit of bouillon. So the Knorr powder bouillon, which is great, new product out there on the market. It's allergen free, so it's a new recipe. And the plan is I just cook that until it's nice and soft and fluffy, aerated, and I've got a lovely cooked quinoa. So you start to see those seeds that burst out. And the great thing about that is they bring out that nutty flavour to this dish. So as we said, everything here isn't about making a swap just because it's sustainable. We've got to make a swap that tastes good. So I'm going to add in to my blender a base here of some quinoa.
Well, I think the thing about grains as well is, although they do have a nutty flavour, some of the grains do, especially the quinoa, you've got a mix there, haven't you, of white and red and black. But they need a helping hand, don't they, to add a bit of flavour in.
Definitely, definitely. And that's why we're using that base that's been cooked in stock to help bring through some additional flavours. But equally, when we talk flavours, black beans, great product, buy them in dry, just soak them overnight and then cook them in some water and then finish them with a bit of stock at the end. Or you can buy them in pre-cooked and just drain them off. But a super umami, rich, mushroom-like flavour. So it's slightly different from the other beans. So far we've got nuttiness from the quinoa, we've got that mushroom richness from the black beans. I'm going to add some gluten-free oats into the mix as well, some onions, and I'm actually going to use some gravy powder. This gravy powder is suitable for vegetarians and vegans. And the reason I'm adding it is because it's going to add those associated flavours of meat. So it's things like rosemary, hard herbs, sweet roasted onions. All of those things help us in our minds think of meat. So when we're talking about a flexitarian customer or someone looking or doesn't really want to give up on that meat because they miss that flavour, it's really, really important that we are adding in things that help evoke those flavours in their mindset. And it won't put off a vegetarian because they are those natural flavours that they would expect to find. So this is just boosting flavours and really, really delivering on that So I'm just going to add some gravy granules in. Everything so far as well, completely gluten-free, no allergens in the base of the Knorr veg bouillon. And I'm just going to pulse that together until I end up with a nice, not overly smooth, I want it a bit coarse mix. So I've got some here already done. And I'm going to start by making a burger because, well, I like burgers, to be honest with you. Oh, sorry. But in the burger, I'm going to use this mix. So it's just blended. I'm going to put the mix in there to help, or just to show its versatility. So we've got a very, very simple mix, and hopefully you can see that. But it's a simple blend, pulsed up, so you've still got some texture of the quinoa, still got that puree from the bean, helping give it that moisture and that little bit of flavour boost coming through from the gravy.
I think that's key when we're talking about plant-based dishes is A, flavour, and B, texture. So if we are trying to attract those flexitarian customers that want to venture into a reduced meat diet, and they're missing that texture and flavour of the meat dish. So you've got, whatever we do, we've got to make it tasty. And I think you're right, with the black beans being that real mushroomy, sort of almost beefy notes in there, and the texture from the quinoa, going to make this burger almost taste like meat.
Yeah, and that's it. And when we were doing this earlier, Paul said to me, who's going to stand there and make burgers individually? And we're trying to make this super practical and super relevant to all your marketplaces. So instead of having the perfect shaped burger, if you look at any street food market, if you look at anywhere at the moment, everyone's just doing a smash burger, right? So that's all I'm going to do. I've used the scoop to get it, and I'm just going to press it down. So I want it to be a little bit rough, a little bit ready, because ultimately this is all about taste. Yeah? So as I cook that away, it's going to start to get that nice caramelized edge to it. It's going to get nice and brown. Actually smells like mushrooms cooking in the pan. It's quite funny because you wouldn't necessarily associate black bean delivering that sort of flavour. But for me, it's not about the perfect shape. This is all about having that rustic, ready to go, and super quick and super simple for you to deliver.
Well, that's what we want to do with it. We want to try and make some tasty dishes for you to look at, but actually something that you want to go and do back in your workplace as well, because we don't want to do anything that's going to be unachievable. So this is, like Alex saying, quite quick, quite easy to do.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting that you've chosen quinoa and black beans, because quinoa is a grain that I don't really know too much about, but you know, why is that on the Future 50 list?
Well, it's super drought resistant, and that's really important. So as we look at what's happening with global warming, as Andrew said, only 60 harvest days, we've got to start thinking about the changing environment of the world, and that's really, really important. Black beans can take that nitrogen from the air, filters it down, and you get the nitrates going into the soil. And agrodiversity is huge. When we're talking about the Future 50 list, that's really at the crux of it, is if we don't start sharing around what we eat, if there is pests, if there is droughts, we're not going to have the crops that we need in order to survive. And ultimately, that's what it's all about, surely. Yeah?
And actually, you're making something that tastes really good as well.
Well, got to. Right. Just going to grab those out while that's cooking. So that sauce has warmed up nicely. I'm going to add some plant-based mozzarella to the top of those and put them under the grill. Burger's cooking nicely. And the idea of this is now we've got another dish. So we've got some meatballs. Everyone loves a meatball sub sandwich. But this one is good for you, good for the planet, and it's more sustainable. So we wanted to create a dish that would go really, really well in a school, as a lunchtime, in a hospital, on a hot plate. We're going to serve it two different ways. So we are going to do a sub sandwich, and we are going to do a little polenta, so a creamy polenta, but we're not going to use any cream. We're going to use soy milk in the base there. As again, we've spoken about this, but soy, hugely important when we're looking at it. Such an important crop, 90% of it ends up as animal feed. And we've got to start thinking what goes to the animals can actually go to us. The amount of protein it delivers, the positive impact on the environment. These are all things. And plus, as you just mentioned, it tastes good too. Right.
And I think I heard something about that. I think it needs almost 30 pounds of soya to produce 1 pound of beef. And you think about that, that's kind of incredible. And when we're saying that actually there's 90% of what's produced goes into animal feed, and it's kind of crazy that we're not using that more to feed ourselves, and it's that vicious circle going around feeding that to feed us. It's definitely an ingredient that we should be eating more of.
Yeah, definitely. Right, let's make this burger then, chef. Don't let my meatballs burn.
I've got an eye on your ball, chef.
I know what you're like. Right, okay, so that burger's almost finished cooking. I'm just going to put some on the base, a little bit of Hellmann's vegan mayonnaise. I've mixed through with some Knorr garlic puree, so it's a nice little garlic sauce. Going to lift off my burger, put that in. Just going to top that with a little relish I've made out of some orange tomatoes, roasted red pepper and shallots. So nice, soft, moist, charred notes going through there. So we've got mushroom, we've got garlic, we've got charred pepper, we've got tomatoes. I'm just going to top it with a few watercress leaves, help bring through that pepperiness. And again, really, really simple dish, all brought together by Future 50 ingredients, but something I hope that your customers like. So that is a very, very simple burger made out of that mushroom, sort of flavoured black beans,
Yeah.
quinoa, a little bit of that gravy mix in there to help boost the flavours. So that's one dish done. How are the meatballs looking? Almost ready?
Almost ready, chef.
Almost ready. All right. Whilst they're finishing off, I'm just going to finish off the polenta. That's been cooked, as I said, in a bit of soy milk to help give that creamy mouthfeel. And that's what we're looking for here. And then I'm just going to add in some vegan parmesan. So again, I just want to amplify those notes, those savoury umami notes. So if you don't want to use vegan cheeses, you can look at yeast flakes, for example. Great product, help deliver that umami flavour, that richness of cheese, without actually having to add cheese alternatives. So if you're worried about adding in things that cost more, you can get away with it by looking at the products that you're using.
Great, great.
Thanks, chef. So you can hopefully see those. Do you want to go from the front of the camera? Sure. Okay. As I finish off this polenta. So polenta, nice, soft maize, not often seen on these sites. Can be made up in advance. What you can do is set it in a tray so you can have how many portions you need pre-done.
Yep.
You can season it, you can do all sorts, you can char mark it, so you can add lots of different flavours in there. But ultimately, this is all about, I want it nice and creamy and smooth so that it can just complement those meatballs perfectly.
It's not really, I think, an ingredient that we eat a lot of in this country, is it?
No, not really, not really.
It works really well with this kind of Italian style.
Exactly.
It's very popular in Italy.
Exactly that, exactly that. So super important now, just get that nice and hot. Just going to pour a tiny amount into my dish. Nice, smooth and creamy polenta. Put it in the base. This again, could be a takeaway dish, could be a sit-down thing, just depends how you really want to serve it. And then I'm just going to top it. We said 3 meatballs, didn't we, chef?
I think we did, yeah.
Yeah. So nice, rich tomato basil sauce, creamy polenta, beautiful glaze from that vegan cheese. And there's your second dish, sorry, apologies, creamy polenta, and lovely meatball that's not a meatball, that black bean mix, again, super simple, super quick, super efficient. So last dish I'm going to do using exactly the same mix is that popular Subway favourite. I'm not allowed to say Subway, am I? No, I shouldn't have said that, sorry. Right, which is a sandwich shop that serves sub rolls. Yeah, I'm just going to literally pop them in. Yeah, so we're going to do three to a portion. Yeah, 3 meatballs.
Do you know what? In the education sector, I think this would go down the storm, wouldn't it?
Yeah, definitely.
I think if the target audience of that said sandwich chain shop
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, that looking for that demographic.
And
What's not to like about a meatball, tomato, cheese sandwich?
Exactly that, mate. And just to serve it, rather than doing traditional potato chips, we've got lentil chips, just to help with that future 50 ingredient. And that really shows other manufacturers are thinking about what ingredients can we add into our products that aren't the norm, that break that mold. And that's really what this is all about. So there you go. That's my third dish and my final dish. And I'll hand over to Paul. It's a black bean and quinoa meatball or meatless ball sub. There we go. So there's my three. Paul,
Wow.
Shall I clean everything up before you get done?
You can move all your stuff. That'd be great. Yeah. I just think that, you know, three great dishes there for being plant-based as well. Actually, they're not. You know, sometimes there's that pitfall that sometimes you're creating plant-based dishes that they're, you know, stacked full of vegetables and they don't appeal to everyone.
Yeah.
You know, it's just kind of that small demographic because, you know, okay, sometimes it is a little bit more work or a bit more thought from the chef, but you've kind of created three dishes there that would happily be meat dishes.
Yeah.
That actually me as a flexitarian would be quite happy to eat.
And that's it. And ultimately, you know, as I said, we try to keep the workload down to a minimum. Smash the burger. Use a baller. Use an ice cream scoop for your meatballs. Keep it simple. There's no need to be too clever. Yeah. So, what dish are you actually going to cook today, Chef?
Well, I am going to do a Mexican-inspired fried rice dish.
Okay.
So it's a bit like a chorizo con pollo.
Ah.
Now, my Spanish is quite good.
That is very good, Chef. Yeah.
But I'm going to use a mix of wild rice.
Okay.
So, like Andrew said before about the rice, different varieties that we're only limited to a few. So, wild rice is really quite a good grain, actually. You know, it doesn't take much water to grow, and it's very resistant to frost or droughts as well. So, brilliant. And that gives us a real nutty flavour. So, I'm going to cook that again, a bit like your quinoa. I'm going to cook that in a little bit of the Knorr bouillon.
Which one are you going to use, Chef?
So I'm going to use the, yes, please, thank you very much. So this is one of our newest products where it's a concentrated bouillon. So it only needs 10 grams for a litre. Allergen free, and it's great for, you know, people who are doing lots of portions. So I think that's about 10 grams for a litre there.
Years of experience.
Yes, yeah, exactly. Yeah. So that's about 300 litres in that tub.
Yeah.
So if you're doing mass catering of big volumes, then that one's perfect. Yeah. You keep an eye on that for me, that'd be great.
Yes, Chef.
So for the pollo bit, I'm going to do use some of the vegetarian butcher no chicken chunks, and I'm going to pan fry those. So a soy-based product, you know, roughly about 21 grams per 100 grams, which actually is more than a large chicken thigh. So the protein is really good. So this is what it looks like. It's great. You can rip it, and I've just defrosted those. So I'm going to just flavour that up with a little bit of Cajun spice. So again, you know, I've just gone sort of the basic Cajun spice, not too hot,
right?
For you know, so for the education guides out there, it's not too spicy.
But really importantly, we talk about sustainability. We talk about this Future 50 report. But with soy, it is ultra important that you know where it's coming from.
Sure.
And the vegetarian butcher has taken the time to make sure that all the soy is sustainably sourced, and they know where it's coming from. And that is so important, because soy and how it's been farmed at the moment, we've got to get in control of this. Although it's a great product in terms of delivering protein and everything else it can do, we must know it's sustainably sourced in order to put it on our menus. So that I would say is the big watch out for soy.
Right, and I think that's a key part of Unilever as well. Their sustainability plan is to go, okay, let's try and make use any products that go into or any ingredients go into our products, you know, sustainable as possible.
Yeah, absolutely.
So for my fried rice, I cooked my rice and let that cool down. So it's always best to do a sort of fried rice dish with chilled or cold rice.
Yeah.
So it doesn't stick, you know, and even you do sort of Chinese fried rice kind of style, then we'll do that. So I've got onions, peppers, and celery, and I'm just going to finish off dicing my pepper. and I'm going to serve that with like a little sweet corn salsa on top.
Okay.
I'm going to use another future and 50 ingredient called Nepalese.
Nepalese, go on.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit more.
Well, actually, to me and you, that's a prickly pear. So
Right.
it's a cactus, and obviously they are great because they are drought resistant. They don't use much water to grow. So, bit of a strange ingredient for the UK, but actually very popular in Mexico. Hence, I chose this dish. Mexican food, actually, apart from the burritos and the quesadillas, this is a popular dish in Mexico. So I'm going to try and use that. I mean, don't have to.
A little bit more authentic than sort of like the Americanized Tex-Mex.
Absolutely,
well.
absolutely. You don't have to have that on there. You could just put in some pickled jalapenos, which is absolutely fine. But I just wanted to just show you actually what could you do with another future 50 ingredient we're not used to. And actually, it's got some real good health benefits as well. Actually, there are some studies out that says it helps with a hangover, although we don't need that. I know it's a Friday, but actually,
Maybe tomorrow.
Maybe tomorrow. But actually, it's good for supposedly good to help digestion and actually weight loss.
Maybe we should try it now.
Yeah, okay. You can have the rest. So I've just finished up chopping up some peppers there. I just need a little bit of oil in the pan. So again, it's kind of a sweating the vegetables down, and then we're just adding the rice and that. And again, I'm going to use the same Cajun spice to spice my rice as well. So kind of few ingredients here. So I don't want to
Sort of thing you can prep, get ready,
absolutely
finish last minute.
batch cook it. Absolutely, yeah.
Okay. And then if you've got that leftover rice, and you've done all your food safety checks, you've chilled it down properly, and then convert that into a salad, any wastage, you don't have to get rid of it. So always think, if you've done the rice and you put it straight out of the counter, you're not going to be able to do those things. So as long as you're managing your food safety systems properly, it's a great dish, a great way to think about wastage and how it can all be brought together afterwards as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because, like we're saying, the wild rice has got such a different texture and a nutty flavour. Actually, hot or cold, it really works. So I'm just going to sweat the onions down. Don't really want any colour on this. A little bit of celery. Peppers as well.
You don't want to remove the crunch, you still want a bit of texture in there, don't you?
Yeah, I want a little bit of that. So the rice is going to give me a bit of crunch, but actually the vegetables, I want that. There's going to be a bit of sweetness coming out of the pepper as well,
Yeah.
So while he's sweating down, just going to make my topping of my salsa. So in there I've got red onion, sweet corn, tinned sweet corn, frozen sweet corn, absolute fine. I've got a little bit of jalapenos in there. Now, this is what you want, yeah.
Okay, great.
So, although it does seem a little bit slimy, you've got a little bit of pickling in there as well.
Yeah.
So you've got that crunch, almost soft in the middle, and the pickle on the outside as well. So a really interesting ingredient.
It makes it quite sweet, quite floury as well, like flowers.
Yeah.
And a little bit of pepper at the end.
Yes. Yeah, really interesting. And actually, we're going to just put that into our salsa as well. So I'm just going to dice that up. So it's just going to be another little texture and a little taste. And actually, we're using another future of 50 ingredient that we can slowly introduce. I mean, this is a salsa catering plant, so it's not going to be too strange for anybody to introduce into their diet.
Brilliant. A really interesting flavour as well.
Yeah.
I think that, as you say, if you sort of start introducing things slowly, it really does build people's knowledge and accessibility of these ingredients. We're not saying that Nepalese is going to be the next big thing in the UK, and we do want to think about what we buy and where we buy it. But we had some in, so it was a really interesting one to bring into this dish, wasn't it?
Yeah, well, you're right. I think, don't they say if you try something 10 times, then your taste buds get to know and are used to that. So I'm not a massive fan of black olives.
Yeah.
But I think, when you've had a pint in a bar and someone brings out the olives, they taste,
becomes okay.
they taste a bit better. But, that is, you eat those, 10 more times, and then actually they come okay. So just in the base of my rice, I'm just going to add a little bit of the Knorr garlic puree as well. So that's not too much. I just want to give it a little hum. That's this product's great. Just saves me crushing it down, peeling garlic.
Yep. And There's your rice.
And then I can go in with my rice.
So you've mentioned the fact it's drought resistant. Andrew's mentioned about the varieties and the range of rice that we've lost over the past 30, 40, well, since the turn of the century, really.
Yeah.
It's been phenomenal, the amount of grains we lost in Thailand alone. But what do you think is important about rice and cooking it? And, you know, would you cook it all at the same time? Would you cook your wild rice separately? Because it does take a little bit longer, doesn't it?
Yeah. Wild rice will take longer. It almost double the cooking time. But there is actually there's a mix. So a bit like the one I've used now. There's a mix of white basmati and the wild rice, black wild rice. So again, what I'm saying about a soft introduction.
Yeah.
Rather than going all wild rice, I think from all good suppliers you'll be able to get this mix, and actually it pricks up a bit of interest as well, because people go, okay, what is that? Yeah. When they try it, when they go, wow, that's kind of nutty, that's different, and that's I haven't had that before. So it's just a softer introduction. So just going to let some heat get into that and fry that rice off.
Nice smoky smell coming off those Cajun spices.
Yeah, do you know what? And yes, you can add a bit, make this a bit more spicy if you want to, but it's kind of, if I'm thinking about this kind of for education or higher education, and it's always sometimes safer to go kind of, mild, and then maybe give the customers options. You can add some fresh chili, someone wants it a bit spicier.
Hot sauces.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. So for my no chicken chunks, just going to pamper those off. And like you saw, I've seasoned that with the Cajun as well. So this is going to go quite dark,
right?
But I want that.
You want that?
Yeah, I want that char. I want it crispy as well. So you don't have to have too much of this on as a topping for my rice, because again, we're thinking about portion costs as well.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to put this into the pan.
In hand.
Oh, you're fine, chef. Sure. And the good thing about this no chicken chunks is, well, it will crisp up, and it almost goes like the skin on chicken.
I think it's super important that with some of these meat places, like with the vegetarian butcher, you do get that chicken thigh texture, don't you?
Yeah.
It's not about breast; it's about the thigh.
What you can do, you can keep an eye on that. Just one last thing to go on my side, so I'm just going to chop in a bit of coriander. So just watch the chili there, don't go down the back of your throat. We're just going to add in a little bit of freshness and a bit of green into my salsa. Floral note. So yeah, make that really crispy. And what I'm just going to chop that up as well, so it's just going to be almost a nice crispy topping to my rice.
Lovely.
So quite simple salsa. Has that got you? With that future 50 ingredient there that we're not used to. Rice is frying nicely. Again, look, as you can see, it doesn't stick because we're using coal. Just obviously now get it up to temperature, being food safe. It's taken on that Cajun spice. And this is kind of a dry dish. So the original sort of Mexican dish I was theming this on, it's almost like the Mexican paella. But this is what I wanted to do. So I had quite a similar dish when I was traveling in Costa Rica a couple of years back, where it was rice and beans.
There we go. There's those chicken chunks, cooked, lovely colour, deep colour on those. All on your board?
Yes, please, Chef. Yep, thank you.
There you go.
Lovely. Now, feels nice and crispy, which is great. So, just going to run the knife through that. This is just going to give us another kind of the texture of chicken thigh, so a different texture to the sort of nutty, soft rice underneath.
Yep.
You can serve up. And then obviously with that Cajun spice, it to be another element of of spice and heat in there as well, and then that crispiness. So I'm after texture as well as spice, as well as flavour. So if I just do a little portion of that, so we're kind of, you know, about a 220 gram portion.
Right, fit for secondary
Yeah,
education.
secondary. Again, and that's what we're saying about just be careful of the spices, which, you know, we try to make it a mild one.
So if that was on a hot plate, nice gastro tray of that, some nice chicken scattered over the top, just scoop out, serve, super quick, super friendly.
Yeah, these elements could be absolutely separate. Yeah. So you've got your crispy no chicken chunks on the side there. Your rice is already done. Salsa to the side there. You know, and actually, don't have to put the salsa on. You know, because it's, you know, you're kind of personalising the dish. You know,
and that's super important for education, isn't it?
Exactly.
Kids love it. They love to be able to choose what they're getting, make it their own, make it, you know, make it fit for them. And that's now beautifully vibrant yellow dots from those sweet corn. It's lovely.
So that's my time. There's my dish. So that's a Mexican-inspired fried rice with the Cajun no chicken chunks from the vegetarian butcher, sweet corn, and the Nepalese salsa.
Brilliant.
So can I play there? Can we see that one there?
Okay,
good. Okay. Well, we can have this later.
Great stuff.
Okay.
And why only getting the cactus though?
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly.
And that's all from us really in the kitchen. I hope you've enjoyed the demonstration. I hope you've learned a little bit about Knorr Future 50 Foods and what they can help bring to you and your establishment. I think it's a really important initiative that Knorr has come up with to help us all cook more sustainably for the future and to think differently about the foods that we buy and why we buy them. So next time you're placing that order, think, am I always ordering the same thing? Can I make that simple switch? Can I change that normal coleslaw using white cabbage into red cabbage? Could I just put some spinach through that dish? Take your dishes and make a positive impact, not just for you, but for your customer and the planet.
Well,
so,
simple swaps in, like you're saying,
you know,
putting some sweet potatoes in, you know, placing half the potatoes on a roast day, you know, and putting sweet potatoes into that.
And it does build different flavours. And I think, as you said, building those flavours, building that interest, building a bit of inspiration is great for everyone.
Well, hopefully you enjoyed those. There's 4 plant-based dishes there, and you know, attract new customers to you know, maybe want to try a diet of reducing their meat, and these aren't going to take them out of the comfort zone.
Thank you very much, Alex and Paul. And I hope you're going to sort of hang around just for a little bit longer because we might have 1 or 2 questions we want to throw your way. Andrew, are you able to join us again now?
Yep, I'm here.
Great. Okay. I think the first thing, and I know someone's posted an answer already, but a number of people are asking about the recipes and where they can find them. Obviously, what the ones you've done today, but I believe you have many more as well. Is that right?
Yeah.
Go on, Andrew.
Yeah. So I was going to say absolutely. So. For anyone looking for recipe inspiration, we've got a whole host of different recipes and resources available on our website. Just visit ufs.com/Knorr Professional. I've put a link in the chat there to our vegan recipe book as well, which contains a number of different recipes using plant-based ingredients and some fantastic inspiration in there. In terms of the dishes that the guys have created today, Alex and Paul,
We literally, after this recording, we're going to take some pictures of the dishes and we'll upload them onto the system and they'll be live tomorrow morning, hopefully. Yeah.
Off the press, so to speak.
On the website.
We didn't want to do anything that anyone had seen before or we'd seen before either. So we thought we'd do something new. Always a great opportunity, these things to experiment, to see what else we can do and to push ourselves.
Okay, thank you. Andrew, someone also mentioned about the Future 50 food report. Is that available on your website too?
Yeah, absolutely. So the full report is available on the website. You can download that and have a look through. You know, as we mentioned earlier on, the report itself contains 50 different ingredients. In the UK and Ireland, we've kind of focused on 23 that we think are relevant to chefs, public sector caterers in our country. And clearly, Alex and Paul have also concentrated on certain ingredients in the recipes today. But the report itself is available on our website, yeah.
Okay, if we just go back now to Alex and Paul, and I'm going to sort of put you on the spot, each of you, and just ask for your favourite products from, or your dishes rather, from what you've prepared today. Which ones appeal to you most?
Our dishes or the products? I mean, products, I love the gravy granules for what they bring to that dish, because it helps. I'm really a big fan of thinking about the flavours that we need to bring in to help get that bridge between flexitarianism and adoption, that continuous adoption, because we want people to feel that this is an alternative that can work for them. So for me, that gravy granule and what it brings to the dishes is fantastic. Bringing that memory, that muscle memory that we've all got of what meat dishes should taste like, hard herbs, sweet onions, all those base flavours that go into making things. And that complements that mushroomy nuttiness that we put with the black bean and quinoa to really bring that dish to life. So for me, I'll be grabbing the burger afterwards.
And Paul?
Yeah, obviously my dish is great. You know, all the products are in there. But the polenta and the meatballs, actually, because it uses the bouillon, and like we were saying before, gives you that kind of seasoning where it's, you're using it like polenta and like the quinoa. It's a bland, other than nutty, it's a bland grain. So adding some of the Knorr bouillon in there, it gives you that base seasoning almost. And we're not using it as a traditional stock; we're using it as a seasoning. So actually, if you used, I used the concentrate, Alex used the powder, but the jelly bouillon that we've got in our range as well, actually it contains a bit of mushroom in the vegetable one there. So that's going to be great if we wanted to do something sort of down the broth line, because it gives you that almost that savoury umami flavour. Yeah,
definitely. And I'm sure that Andrew can put a link through to the different bouillons and how they can help support you in your business. Because the actual fact, as Paul said, it is all about that foundation, building those foundations of flavour, and then you've got that dish. If you've got a great foundation, just like a house, it's going to be there for a good long time. It's going to be strong. Just like
absolutely. I'll what I'll do is I'll drop a link in the chat to. We've actually got a bouillon matching tool on our website, which takes you through a number of different questions and things, and kind of identifies the product that would best suit what you're looking to achieve on your menu. So,
okay. Perhaps I can just move on a little bit now, because you will well understand that the caterers working in the public sector have sort of fairly limited budgets to work with. And so when you're producing some of these very, very nice looking plant-based dishes, I'm just wondering whether caterers might expect to see some sort of cost savings in producing those as compared to using meat in that version.
Okay. Yeah, no, absolutely, they should. I think we've got to be really honest here. Yeah, it's super easy to buy a case of meatballs in that's pre-done. We're not going to get away from that. We are going to have to address the issue, but with these things, there's going to have to be a certain level of honesty. You're going to have to do some work. But what we've shown you today is by just buying one piece of kit, you can scoop out and make your meatballs. It will not take you that much longer. You can definitely save money by doing this. Yes, you might spend a bit more time on it, but ultimately your end goal is that you've got great products, great flavours, and it hasn't taken that much longer, and you're making a positive change. So, I'd encourage everyone to look at the produce and say, I'm going to make a saving and I'm going to make a positive change as well, because you're going to do two things there, and that's really important.
Okay, thank you. Andrew, just looking ahead now at some of the plans for the range and how these might be expected to benefit public sector caterers. What can you tell us about that?
So I think in terms of new product development and working sort of on the brand going forward, Knorr Professional, as Knorr Professional, I think we're very aware of the challenges that chefs face, public sector chefs in other parts of the industry, and we're very focused on supporting operators through those challenges. So from a product perspective, I would say that we're going to continue to innovate, we're going to continue to adapt and develop our range, primarily to ensure it's kind of future fit, it accommodates trends, consumer demands going forward. I think an example of that, Alex mentioned it earlier in terms of our new bouillon range. So earlier this year, we relaunched our bouillon powders. They feature no allergens to declare. They are available in a range of different flavors, completely clean recipe. Ultimately, a lot of them are plant-based as well. So I think from that point of view, it's about supporting chefs. We're there to ultimately help those chefs, help you guys to create delicious, nutritious, vegan, vegetarian, plant-based meals. So I would say that in terms of that, it's very much about how we can accommodate trends and consumer demands, really.
Okay, thank you. Alex and Paul, perhaps if I can turn to you now, as chefs, you well understand that public sector catering chefs probably going to be fairly unfamiliar with some of these ingredients that you are suggesting in the Future 50 foods that they start using, that they will have a certain sort of reserve about getting involved in it, partly because of that they're not familiar with them, they don't know quite how they handle, but also with the concern at the back of their minds that their customers might reject them. So I just wonder what you've seen so far that can lead you to give them a little bit of sort of advice or some tips on how to sort of approach that potential problem.
Well, actually, I would encourage everybody to download the guide, the report, and have a look on there. That gives you kind of it breaks down the ingredients and gives you kind of matching and what the Future 50 ingredients are best matched with. Yep. From a recipe development point of view, but also I would say don't go too out there with your dishes. Create dishes like Alex has done there. Three dishes that are recognisable. So it's a meatball, it's a burger, and a sub. So actually, if someone's coming into a refectory or into a dining area, they see something that they can recognise as a dish that they want to eat. And then actually, could there be a bit of education around it going, okay, this dish, is using an ingredient that, is good for the planet. So it's that education piece as well. Going, okay, actually, it's still a burger, but in my mind, I'm doing good for the planet.
And I think start small. Start small, look at the list. There's some really, really, really familiar ingredients in there that you're probably using already. So it's not rewriting the repertoire. It's not about, fear factor, but it is about making a simple switch. You've got rice on your menu, get blended rice with wild rice, make a positive impact. As Paul said, you've got a roast, stick a few sweet potatoes in there. We don't need to change everything all in one go. Kids love sweet roast potatoes, sweet potato wedges because of the flavour, because they're they bring out that sweetness. You know your customers. We're not asking you to go out and grab Nepalese. Yeah, it's not necessarily the perfect ingredient, but we can say baby spinach, watercress, wild rice, really, really simple. Red cabbage, walnut. These are all simple, everyday ingredients that any chef can just grab and use and make a positive impact. And that's the great thing. It is a global report, so there are going to be things that you're not going to get, and that's fine. It's about picking those things and making a positive change. So it doesn't have to be throw everything out and just focus on that. It's about broadening horizons, and as you say, as Paul said, those slow, steady changes will start to create a positive impact for everyone. So, yeah, I'd say start small, find those ingredients that you know and you love, and run with those.
Great, thank you. Andrew, the point that they were making there about the sustainability, that's right, is that can be used as a really sort of positive thing when you're talking to, when you're sort of trying to promote dishes on menus and get your customers engaged.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, the whole environmental aspect and sustainability is something that is not just important to all of us, but I think as it becomes more important, I think it becomes more front of mind for consumers, chefs, restaurateurs, across the board. So actually, I think there is an element of, if you can communicate that to your customers, your diners, then it's a win-win situation. is how I would see it.
Okay, terrific. Well, thank you very much, all. You've taught us a lot today. Very, very interesting to hear all about the Future 50 Foods report, and then to see how some of these ideas can be taken forward in the kitchen. So that, unfortunately, though, is all we have time for today. So I'd like to thank Alex, Paul and Andrew from our platinum sponsor today, Knorr Professional, and to you too for joining us. We will be uploading a recording of this session to the Plant-Based Week page on our website. We're now winding down our Plant-Based Week programme, but if you've missed anything at all this week, it has all been recorded and is available on the Plant-Based Week page on our Public Sector Catering website. On the slides that follow, you'll see the web address where you can find out everything about Plant-Based Week, including the chance to catch up with all the cooking demos and Wednesday's keynote webinar. You can also see the winners of the draw to win signed copies of Dr. Rupi's new book, Doctor's Kitchen 321. And the good news is that we plan to be back next year, and you can see the dates for Plant-Based Week 2022. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.